Apple has now come out and said that they are considering, or at least the reports state that they are considering moving iPhone production out of China, or at least a percentage of it. So what does this mean? It means that in conjunction with this bad news on this one front, you now also have the potential for an increase in end user prices for the premium end of the smartphone business, like iPhones. If they have to move some production out of China to avoid the tariff talk that we've been referencing so frequently on this show, you could see an increase in the cost per unit on an iPhone as well. So the tariff proposal was 25%, right? Tariff on goods originating from China. So the suggestion is apparently Apple has asked their suppliers to mull over the idea of potentially moving, transplanting some of that production to other places, primarily in Southeast Asia. We could see a place like Vietnam become a player. As I've mentioned in the past, certain Samsung devices are manufactured there. So you get outside of mainland China, you avoid the tariff, you keep the price down, but moving operations could incur other expenditures, which could still result in an increase to your bottom line if you're an iPhone buyer. In fact, analysts have forecast the cost of iPhones to increase by 14% as a result. Even though Tim Cook says it ain't going to happen, maybe Apple just absorbs some of that extra cost and just chops it out of their margin. We know they protect fairly healthy margins. Maybe they can do that. But nonetheless, this entire ecosystem becoming more complex. You have softness on the demand standpoint, right? You have more selection from a wider variety of brands at different price points, and now you have a potential increase in complexity in getting these premium devices because of the potential for this tariff situation. And it could go in reverse as well. Of course, if this tariff does come into play on U.S. soil, you could potentially have a Chinese retaliation, in which case Apple could then have a more expensive product even in mainland China because of the U.S. technologies that exist and the fact that money eventually finds its way back to Apple in the U.S. Around 5 million Chinese jobs are thought to rely on Apple's manufacturing in the country. And Apple employs around 10,000 people directly in China. It's unclear how many of these jobs would be impacted by losing 15 to 30% of production. Well, Apple is apparently the one, like the story here is that they have asked. They've asked if it would be possible to move a percentage of their production outside of China to diversify their manufacturing resources and so forth. But Foxconn, on the other hand, who's responsible for manufacturing Apple's components, Apple's smartphones, they're saying we can move all of it, at least as far as U.S. destined devices. They say we could do that, no problem. So you're getting a similar message from both sides, the manufacturing side with Foxconn and also Apple themselves. So there's a likelihood here that you could see a more expensive iPhone coming in the near future.